Good afternoon. Welcome, board members. We have established that if you have a comment, please raise your hand and I will call on you and the interpreter will either voice or sign for you and we'll just take turns that way. I would like to go over the agenda that we have established for today's meeting, which includes the minutes to be reviewed. I would like to ask Debbie Martin if she will do a roll call before we begin. I would like to start with Dodie Carr, Susan Dorn, Jeff Kasinger, Bridget Mann, Nancy Perry, Joshua Matthews, and myself, Debbie Martin. Scott Hahn, back to you. And Toya Roby. So I believe we have met our quorum of over 5 members that are present today, so we can go ahead with our meeting. Now, you all should have a copy of the agenda. I would like to say something before we start looking that over. Joshua Matthews, unfortunately, was not able to make it to our meeting today. He had a conflict in his schedule. He was actually going to KSD to present, and so we are definitely looking forward to meeting him at our next meeting. Dodie Carr has to leave at 2:30, so I just wanted to make sure that we were clear, and it's important that all of us be together so that we can review these agenda items. And with your permission, I'd like to tweak some of the agenda items that we have listed. You should have a copy of that. I would like to move item I, for review and accepting proposed KSD advisory bylaws, to right after B. Right after we approve the February minutes, I would like to put I, because I would like everyone to be here so that we can vote on accepting the changes. Can I get anyone to second that? All right, great, that has passed, thank you. Now, welcome everyone. This is a very challenging time. It's definitely unprecedented for us to be here online, virtually, and if you think about it, cool to be able to communicate with everyone. It's not like being 3D in person, so it's definitely going to pose its own challenges, but it should be interesting. We will have public comments. That will be at the end. There is a place for you to submit those questions. And I would also like to briefly talk about the bylaws. Each of you should have a copy of those bylaws. And in it, we have a section that talks about public comments. Section 2, Article 2, I believe it's called. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Article 3. You should find the part, Article 4, Article 3, Section 4.
Public comments.
And it should say public comments for more information about public meetings. It says, if no individual signs up to address the KSD advisory board before the meeting begins, per requirement of the board bylaws, those comments shall not be addressed and the chair will go ahead with the agenda. A says if the individual wishes to address the KSD advisory board, they shall sign up to speak before the meeting begins and provide his or her name and issue to be addressed that they want to be speaking on. B says that the individual that addresses the KSD advisory board will be provided 5 minutes time for their public comment. C says the speaker may not allot their 5 minutes time to another person. And D, KSD advisory board has the right to establish limits on time issues that may be addressed within the public to ensure cooperation of the function of purpose and the advisory board. E, to ensure fairness, the secretary will keep time for the dedicated 5 minutes for each speaker who has signed up to address the board, and this will be provided for all speakers to have the allotted time provided. And F, speakers shall be called on to address the chair in order of the sign up. G says that the speaker comments should be directed to the chair, which would be me in this case. Not to individual board members or KSD staff. The advisory board members shall not interact with the public, but shall listen to the public comments. If the speaker requests a follow-up for more information from one of the KSD advisory board members, the secretary will take their name and address of the individual who is requesting information and be provided in writing. So the board members can ask for clarifications to the questions during the meeting, not during the public comments, okay? I want to make sure that everyone's clear on that. Okay, to accept the approval of the minutes from February 2020, do I have anyone make a motion to accept the minutes that have been provided to you? Oh, there is one mistake in the minutes. That has been pointed out on page 2 under chair, letter D. Under letter C, it says T. Roby, and then it's question marks 7. It says questions second the motion to add to the bylaws. Who seconded the motion to add to the bylaws? And I believe that was Debbie Martin. So it's 0.7, but I'm not sure. Does anybody remember who seconded that? I recall it being Debbie Martin. If someone could put that correction in the minutes and we can move to approve those. Let me give everyone a second to find where we are.
Hi, Miss Roby.
Okay. Has everyone been able to find where I'm talking about? Okay, give me just a second. I want to wait on some of the others. I think Debbie's having some technical difficulties, so we're just waiting for her to make sure that she doesn't miss this next part. So there, see where they renamed her. I see. Okay, she's reconnecting. Let's see. Okay, Toya.
While we're waiting, I'm just sitting here thinking that this is historical moment because this is probably the first virtual meeting for Kentucky School for the Deaf for advisory board. So it's a date for history.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think Debbie's back. Okay. Are you good? She said yes. I've been having internet issues, so I switched to a different laptop. I think I'm back. Okay. So we were in the middle of approving the February minutes. There was a minor overlooked statement that was in part 2 under chair, section D, under the letter C where it says T. Roby on down to point 7. And it has 2 question marks because we were unsure who seconded the motion to add to the bylaws. And I recall it was you, Debbie, who had seconded that motion. Is that correct? Yes, it was. Okay, thank you. So do I hear anyone approving or making a motion to approve the motions as corrected? Anybody want to move to approve them? Nancy? Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve our February 2020 minutes as corrected. Anyone want to second that? Dodie's saying, oh. Dodie, you second that? You can leave them as little tiles. I can see them for the most part. Sure. Except Scott. Okay. And Bridget Mann, are you still here? I don't see your video. Did you want to vote? Oh, she may not be. Oh, I see. I see in the chat box. Yes. Okay. Great. All right. Okay, now under letter I for review, accepting the KSD Advisory Board bylaws. That is the next item of our agenda. You should have a copy of our bylaws. We worked on them over the spring, starting back in February of 2020 at our last meeting. Turn myself. Toya, would you like to?
Yes, I shared 2 copies. You have the electronic copy that have the corrections on it. And then Scott has our detailed notes of edits that are handwritten. So you have those 2 copies because it was important that you all see both. So what it'll look like in final draft, and then there's some additional things that I think Scott wanted to share today that will need to be added to those minutes. So I just wanted to clarify that.
So here are the notes that I have from the February 11th meeting, where we acted on making proposals and corrections to the bylaws as they stood. We've gone through a lot of these, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about those corrections. Bring your attention to the first page. If you notice the logo has been corrected to the most updated logo. Under purpose, that we approved as stated. Then the preamble, there were no changes there. Going down to Article 1, talks about membership, eligibility, terms, appointments, resignation or removal, vacancies. 8 is rights and duties. 9 included limitation on powers. Article 3, if we can jump down, officers and appointment. 2 is for term. 3, elections. 4, duties of chair. Under that specific section, we added 5, the number 5, for vice chair, duties of vice chair. So duties of vice chair, and absent of the chairperson, the vice chair shall preside at all meetings of the advisory board. The vice chair shall perform such other duties as from the time to time may be assigned to him or her by the chair or by the advisory board. So that is the one section under Article 2, number 4, duties of chair. We added a number 5 for duties of vice chair. Then there's also duties of secretary, moved down to number 6. And then compensation became number 7. Okay. Article 3, meetings. There's regular meetings and then special meetings. Number 3 is regular committees and ad hoc committees. 4, public comments. 5, conduct of meetings. 6, proxies. 7, failure to attend. 8, quorum. 9, open meetings. 10, notice. 11, required vote. 12, board action. 13, amendment of bylaws. And then Article 4 has a section for annual report. Then jumping down to Article 5, communication procedures are listed. One through 3 are correct. We removed 4, the mailing list. We have removed that part. So then that means that number 4 now becomes the meeting minutes will be disseminated to all board members by KSD staff after each board meeting. The text will highlight general occurrences and any actions taken by the board. So that becomes number 4 after removing the previously included mailing list for number 4. On Article 6, that all remains the same. And that is the completion of the bylaws. Do I have any motions to accept these bylaws as proposed?
I just have a question really fast. I just want to,
Brandy, yes, go ahead.
okay, I just want to make sure that I have all of the changes written down right for the final draft for the minutes. Okay, so add number 5 to article number 2 about duties of the vice chair.
Yes.
Okay, and then so number 5 then would become number 6. Number 6 becomes number 7.
Correct.
And then in Article 5, take out 4, and 4 becomes number 5.
One moment. Now, Article 5, parts 1, 2, and 3, as we move down to part number 4. Yes, number 5 will be changing to number 4
Okay.
because 4 is removed.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I had it all down. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept the proposal of the revised bylaws? Anyone? Ms. Roby, yes.
Did I miss it, or did we add in? I know we had talked about it, adding in a time limit on training to occur by new members.
Yeah, there's a 30-day window in there. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Let me double check. It's in Article 6. Orientation of new members and the chair of the board, number 1 and number 2. clarify the 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Page 6, that's the last page. Article number 6, we're going to change that part 2.
It says 30 days.
And it's in the orientation there that says 30 days. That's where it's listed. So we need a motion and then a second and then discussion. Or did you need clarification?
I'll wait. I'll wait until the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Kasinger made a motion to accept the bylaws as revised.
I second that.
Second by Dodie Carr. She seconded the motion. Now we're in discussion. Nancy, the floor is yours. So I think I remember it could have been back in February or the meeting prior to that. And we were talking about the board will host a meeting, and was there a payment reimbursement for mileage for those that were traveling to and from the meeting? I can't remember. Article 1. And if you move on down under Article 1, number 4. It mentions compensation there. Article 1, Part 4.
I see that. Okay.
Okay. All right, Nancy. Yes.
If I may, it talks about the ad hoc. I'm not exactly sure where I saw that.
One moment.
There was a section that mentioned the ad hoc. Let me find it. I can't remember which article it's under.
Oh, okay. Nancy, are you speaking on, it is Article 3, number 3, and that is regular committees and ad hoc committees. Is that correct?
Yes.
You see that here?
Yes.
All right, proceed.
My question is, for, let's say, for example, if the 200th year anniversary of KSD comes up, if there are people selected to form a committee, do they become what's called the ad hoc committee? Or is there something else that defines ad hoc? I'm just wondering.
Toya, I'm going to turn this over to you. For the 200th celebration, that committee that is formed, does KSD have a committee for the 200th celebration that is preparing for that?
We do. We have some committees. I think, Nancy, I'm glad you asked that question because I know there's some community committees for KSD 200th, and I know we have our school committee. And it would be nice if we could kind of figure out a process that we're all working together. So to make sure, because, you know, we have limited resources. So I think that's, you know, that ad hoc committee, and maybe that could include some of our school staff, some advisory boards. But Carol Ann Morrison is on the line, and I'm gonna put her on the spot. She is has been the policy advisor. If I may I make this moment and the board indulge me with a little bit of sidebar here? Is that okay?
If I may,
Go ahead, Mitch.
if you don't mind to go ahead and introduce,
Okay.
yeah, please go ahead and make that introduction.
Thank you. Carol Ann Morrison has served as policy advisor at the Department of Education and served in various leadership roles at the department. She has just been announced as our new state director for both schools, KSB and KSD. So I'm going to ask her that question on ad hoc because that's a strength for her. And I'll say this, Carol Ann has a strong relationship and understanding in working with the legislature. And I think she can be a strong advocate in working with our legislators and helping to understand the needs of both campuses. So Carol Ann?
Thank you, Toya. It's nice to be here and nice to meet you all. In looking at the bylaws, it's important to remember that any committee meetings would have to meet the Open Meetings Act. And so we would have to notify the public of any of those meetings. And it does allow for the ad hoc committees to include individuals from the public to serve on the committee if they have particular expertise in the area. So the chair could appoint people to the committee from the board, as well as you could have some people from the public that are not on the board to serve if they have expertise in the area. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
And it's nice to meet you. Welcome.
You too. Thanks.
I really look forward to our working relationship with you, Carol. Thank you. Nancy, do you have any more questions that you would like clarification on?
Yeah, I'm also wondering about where it said the website. Has that part already been removed from the bylaws? It talked about at one point where KSD, KDE would maintain the information about KSD events, informing the public. Is that something that KSD still does?
Toya, I'm gonna let you take this one again.
So we have not always done a good job of making sure that things are posted and updated on meeting minutes and stuff. So that is something that I've tasked a couple staff to make sure that when we get done with this meeting, those minutes will start to be reviewed. We want to get them put in the air so that we can have those posted on the website to make sure that we have accessibility for all that want to review it, access it.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all of my questions that I had. Thank you for clarifying.
All right, Toya, thank you as well. Nancy, any more clarifications?
No, that's all I had. I appreciate that.
All right.
I'm informed.
Wonderful. Any other questions about this proposal of the bylaws and revisions? Anyone? Seeing none, I would like to have a vote in favor of the bylaws as amended and corrected.
Raise your hand if I.
I see 4.
Bridget.
Bridget, are you there? All right, wonderful. Thank you. And that passes. Moving on. Now I'm going to turn this over to Toya Roby, principal. Thank you, Toya.
All right, thank you. So in going over, first off on the agenda, I would indulge me in that we have a little grammar edit error that I made under principal updates under B. C, D, E, and F should be subsets of B. They are all part of that reopening plan.
Okay. Noted. Thank you.
So graduation, because of COVID-19, we had the option of doing a virtual graduation, doing something on campus under strict guidelines, or doing something this fall. Our staff and our students, we reached out to families on our Friday meetings with our high school kids during virtual. We reached out to them for feedback of what do you all want to do? It's your graduation. So we really followed their cue, and we elected to have an on-campus graduation. If you weren't able to attend, I have to say it was pretty special. It's like you set out to do something and you want to make it really good, and it exceeded our expectations. We had the kids meet over about 2 miles away at the Big Lots parking lot.
Ooh, great.
And they had a police escort to campus. And when they hit campus, the horns were blowing. We had the drone overhead watching them come in. And it was kind of funny that we had said, you know, you must stay in your cars, told staff, we had worked out where all staff were going to be. We wanted everybody on campus. We made sure to get out the notice to our community so that they could be in on Main Street and on Martin Luther King, just so that they were all there cheering them on. And it was funny because we had some parents that brought trucks and they had the chairs sitting in the back of the trucks. And I'm sitting there thinking, the rule is that they stay in their cars. I'm like, you know, they're in their truck, in the truck bed. I'm going to let that one go. So it was really pretty cool. And we made the students, each were given a chair as part of their gift. And it was a director's chair. And then they were given an umbrella because it was supposed to rain that day. And they sat in the front of their family's car. And what I said to them is, you're being gifted with a director's chair because you are now truly the director of your life. And the umbrella is there to symbolize, it's there to cover you and protect you, just like your campus family and like your own family, and that we are always here to serve you in the future, and you know, and for you to serve us in the future. And that was another challenge of, you are our future alumni, and this campus must sustain with you. It can't sustain without you. So it was a very special event. Commissioner Kevin Brown attended. KBE Advisory Chair Dr. Lou Young attended, and our esteemed Advisory Chair Scott Hahn attended. And the kids and the families and the staff have to say, man, we love this outdoor graduation. And I think they want to do it again. I'm hoping we don't have to do it under COVID-19, but people liked it outside. I know our gym can get pretty hot, but there was something, it was like a relaxed, but it was still very reverent, but it was a relaxed feel. And it was awesome. It was a special experience. What we did for the students is several staff worked in accolades to our graduation team. They really knocked it out to prepare something that had, again, historical, had never happened before. they had prepared a video to give to the students and surprise them with that had video from the governor, video from Commissioner Brown, and a surprise video from our speaker that if we can figure out how to pull it off this fall, I'm not sure that we can with these numbers going up, doing an on-site campus, but Samantha Fowler was our graduate's choice to be the guest speaker. So she surprised them with a video. And you can go out to our Facebook, but that video has had 1.1 million views. So it was pretty special.
That's wonderful. Wow.
Wow. Wow. That is great.
Yeah.
Terrific. And Samantha, she is our former student, and that's amazing that she had that kind of acclaim with one of her videos. That's wonderful. Great job.
So our school reentry plans, you all have the letter home to parents has been shared with you, as well as the reentry plan. And the plan that's been shared with you is our NTI plan. The governor and the commissioner has asked us this summer to develop 3 calendars, and leadership and I worked on those in early June. Instructional leads, Byron, Ginger, CJ, and Joe and Stu and Christy, we sat down, and Tony, to look at, what does that look like for July? Governor, in case the governor asked us to pursue something in July, we had all 3 calendars, July, August, and September. We had the hard discussion of when do we go back in August? And the decision at my urging was, let's go back later in August, hoping to miss the spike. And it's a bet. And I don't think any of the schools are winning that bet right now and hoping to miss the spike as their numbers continue to go up. Last week, we met as a team, still planning to move full force ahead with opening school. We all agree, as I said in the letter, that the best place for our kids is on campus with each other, with hands in the air, and to be immersed in the community and those supports. However, that was Wednesday, long about Thursday, just kind of watching the numbers across the state, didn't have a good feeling. We have worked with the health department across the summer. I've been on weekly calls with state health officials and our commissioner as part of planning and reopening. The department has done an exceptional job, a behemoth job, of turning out guidance on a weekly basis on how to operate under these COVID-19 conditions. There are so many details and nuances that our statutes and regs never did plan for a pandemic. No one could see that we were having to face this yet again past May. So in reaching out to the health department, as we have done all summer in our planning for reopening, we were advised to pursue at least 6 weeks of NTI and be checking back in frequently to about the next phase of will we be able to open. As I told parents, we want to be open, and as soon as we can safely open, we will do so. On the front of your plan, you'll see the calendar of what we're looking at. Any questions on that plan that I have shared with you all?
Yes, if I may. just to clarify something, I'm concerned about all the students having access to technology like laptops. What about the internet and internet connectivity issues? I know across the state of Kentucky there are issues. How can we meet the demand that our students have for internet access and technology use?
That's a great question, Scott. Actually, we started addressing that issue at the initial implementation of our spring NTI. We surveyed parents to identify who did and did not have technology. KDE is supporting us, both state schools. And they have a plan overall on what they're doing for other districts, but I'm focused on our school, which is to secure hotspots. So Jared has, we have identified students who need that additional technology. The question was, who doesn't have technology or who has connectivity problems or challenges? Because you can have internet, but if you keep losing your signal, that doesn't help. So Jared is actively seeking to get hotspots. There is an identified person at the Department of Education who is strictly working on that. Some districts are making internet available in their parking lot, and that's not practical for us. We're not going to ask a kid to go sit in a hot car across the school day to get internet. We want to make sure that they have internet at home where they have good lighting, they can see, and that they have full access. So Scott, we are working on that to get those hot spots, and hopefully we will have those soon.
If I may, this is Scott speaking. So will staff and teachers, how are they going to assist parents in implementing and setting things up? Because some are a little maybe uneasy about the right permissions or the right, accessing the right website. I mean, I'm not very tech savvy myself. I have to request friends and family members to come over. And I'm wondering if they're having issues with their internet. Is there anywhere that they can go to receive support?
Well, there's a few layers there. The challenge, we made sure that all of our kids had computers. We sent our high school kids home last spring with the computers. And then within, I think, a week or two, we went out and made trips to get computers to everybody else. We didn't, we were kind of thinking we were going to leave and be back in a couple of weeks. And then it became apparent that it was going to be long term. So the problem when you let those computers go home is Jared cannot remotely fix them. So, but we can still offer that tech support and ideas. So here's what we've done. First off, we'll be offering a virtual 101 class to any parents who want to participate. That was one of our spring survey questions. What do you need as a supporter of your child to make home NTI the best possible? So we're going to offer that on how to access different platforms. Then during the day, Jared and Jacob, our technology department, will be available to support questions from parents or students on how to get help. Then in the evening, we're going to utilize our most tech savvy dorm staff to be on call to support families with any technology questions as well. And if there's something that they can't answer, Jared and Jacob will be on call to assist them as needed.
Okay, I see that Nancy has her hand up. Nancy?
Yeah, I like the idea of having those laptops available to everyone. I'm wondering, how do they connect tech support if the students are struggling? So I'm glad you clarified. I know that Jared has a lot of options. There's like a program, I think it's like Teams View, it might be called. That's something that can be installed on the laptops of each of the students. And so for maybe someone like myself, or like Scott Hahn had said, and I'm not tech savvy either. A friend of mine is very good with technology. So what I do is I ask him if he doesn't mind to set up the Teams view that I upload to my computer.
Huh.
And so when I upload that and it's been installed, then there's like a number that I share with my friend, and he can pull up. It's like a Zoom thing, you know, where you have to have a password and a meeting ID, and he can connect to my computer remotely and make changes after I've explained to him what my issues are. I mean, it's really amazing what can be done without him even being with me. So I'm wondering if that's something that Jared can do and upload that Teams view or another program similar to that to the student laptops to help make that more of a smoother transition, so that the students who are having issues, that Jared can have more of an ability to help resolve those issues from a distance. Just a thought.
Toya, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it's spelled Team View, Team View, View, and it's one word, Team View. And there could be others, you know, that's just the one that we use. Jared, I'm sure, will know more about what's out there, but that's the one that I'm familiar with, that I've used with a friend of mine. So just a thought.
Thank you. That sounds like a great tool. Jared, and I'll get Jared to investigate to see if that's an option for us, if that's, you know, available through how we're set up.
Okay, I noticed Jeff had his hand up. Jeff is speaking. Hello, everyone. Speaking on the team view, I'm pretty strong with IT. I've had experience for over 30 years myself, and also worked with some remote insurance companies as well. And I've implemented different methods of using technology and virtual assistance programs. And working in the state, or at the state level or corporate level, we used login programs, like remote login programs that they had, and TeamView is typically more for a home-based, for personal use computers. And so some programs you have to pay for. The state may have their own platform that they can access and use, that they can set up on a state device, on a laptop, or that might be already part of the state tech support stuff anyway. So it might be something to ask at the state level, and maybe KSD can be granted access for it or given an access code. You know, that might be my preference, because it would safeguard a lot of sensitive information, and it's not going through a third-party app such as TeamView, which is more personal use, like I mentioned. That's all. And in regard to the hotspot, I don't think that there's any issues with connectivity there, or network problems with those hotspots. If they're already, you know, established and ready to go, and it's a state that's running it, and you're not partnering with a separate carrier or anything crazy, I don't think that there will be any complications with students receiving internet at their homes using a hotspot. That's great. Dodie, I noticed you had your hand up.
Yes, hi, I'm Dodie. I was asking about NTI is what I'm more curious about. The students, are they able to access everything? Is everyone able to do that? Did they struggle? Did you have issues with parents encouraging students? I'm just wondering what issues you face in the spring. So that's one of my questions. So I'll hang on to my other ones after you answer that first one.
It varied. Our teachers, our feedback, first off, I want to share, and our feedback from our parents in our survey. Our parents overwhelmingly said our teachers just knocked it out of the park. They did an exceptional job. What many of our parents struggled with is the language barrier. And if there's a silver lining to anything, is that in our last and most recent survey, 70% of our parents were interested in participating in ASL classes in support of their child. So I think that that's a strong plus. We did
Oh, wonderful. That is
experience.
great.
Yeah.
We had some students that we thought were independent, self-sufficient, strong academically. And those are we had some kids that just kind of went off the grid on us. And what we thought was resiliency really wasn't as resilient as we thought, and that they needed KSD. They needed that campus. And so it really revealed to us the need for the social emotional support of our kids. And that's another added layer. We had it, but we're being more overt with our families and offering those supports during NTI. We really utilized that. We had kids checking in at 7:30 in the morning. We did roll call with our teachers every day, twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. And we did a plus delta, what's working really good and what are opportunities for improvement. And there's nothing better than to see the teacher going, oh my gosh, my kid is checked in at 7:30. But the flip side of that is that we had kids logging on at 9 o'clock at night, contacting teachers 11:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I got some questions. Well, our teachers, being who they are, answered the questions and then would say, hey, I really got to go to bed. You can't be calling me at 11:30. So we had some kids really get upside down quickly in their schedules, but we're not the only ones. That was a struggle across the Commonwealth with some kids just wanting to expand that school day to something that work for them and not your traditional school time. So moving forward as part of NTI is we're spending those first 2 weeks with our kids, really spending time on what we call positive behavioral instructional supports, on building those those virtual classrooms, those expectations. And, what are they? And, we want them high of the behaviors to be a successful student during NTI, and that they're accountable. We maybe had one just kind of tell a parent that the work was optional. So the work was not optional. We want to keep kids engaged. And so this year moving forward, iStrain is something that we want to be very sensitive and careful that we are not sitting kids in front of the computer and making them stay there from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. We're looking to shorten the direct instruction to 20 to 30 minutes. Shorten that, then have some independent time. And then teachers are coming back in to do some one-to-one support. Where our classrooms are small, our teachers can do that. And then we're also building in time for that social emotional, a virtual recess, if you will, across the day on Fridays. Make sure that we still have our team meetings, but then in the evening to make sure that our kids have a safe, supervised place to go to socialize with each other. So our dorm staff will be there just like on the playground. They're not in the middle of playing with all the kids, but they're there supervising. And we want parents to know that they have that opportunity as well. So this is not our path that we wanted to take, but for health reasons and recommendations, it's a path that we must take. And we're just going to try to make the best of it that we can. Our teachers, through our last process, and we'll do it again, is, as I said, we did roll call twice a day. And those plus deltas were huge. And the teachers were very reflective and proactive in identifying any problems and trying to figure out the better way to intervene for kids. On that plan that I showed you, there's a whole list of technology that our team is using with students, and that's not everything. I did a quick canvas of about 13 teachers last week and just said, hey, what all are you using? And they blew me away. Google is our first and foremost. Zoom is one of our main platforms, but then within that, they use lots of different resources to engage the kids and make sure that the instruction is highly visible.
Dodie, you had two more questions. Am I correct?
Yes, thank you for answering that first question. The second question was about the kids taking responsibility, and you answered that. So the third one is some of the deaf community, including those who are on the Kentucky Association for the Deaf Board, are worried about social skills and sign language skills and being isolated at home and not having interaction and exposure to sign language. And they're thinking about hosting Zoom socials for youth. But the leaders would be retired teachers or potential board presidents, vice presidents that would host and make them more involved, just like a chat about a variety of topics, just to kind of maybe develop some leadership. So the KAD was wanting to include the National Association for the Deaf and other organizations, and we've been brainstorming on how to set that up. Now, I know that there's lots of school policies and outside organizations that we have to work within, and I know that the retired teachers probably have more of an in, but I'd like to talk to you more about how to set that up and how to implement those chats and include KSD students. So I just wanted to throw that out there and also let you know that we are concerned, but we also have a solution and we're wanting to help with that program.
Thank you very much. Your all's thinking is along the same lines of that evening time of being at home and having limited communication. We know that language deprivation is a huge and systemic problem compounding on the social emotional health of our kids. So that is the homework time, the story time. We're looking to offer story time every night for our kids, for our younger kids.
Great. Yeah, that's good.
Some not book studies, but some time of like how you said topics, but we're thinking about, what books can they read collectively as a group, and we would get those. If they identified a book, we would get that book, send it out to, if middle school wanted to focus on a certain one, and then so that they are practicing and they have their hands in the air. The supervised social time, homework hotline, and we just want to make sure that we are available during the day, obviously for instruction, but we're also there as a resource at night. As I said earlier, that we've had community sign class.
Oh, Nancy. Oh, I'm sorry.
We've had community sign class. Well, obviously with COVID, we're not doing community sign class right now, but we're looking at the possibility of securing some monies through FEMA or our CARES money to hire our community teachers to support parents. The WHAS grant, we had talked this summer, and Scott can talk more on that, of utilizing tutors to support kids' ASL skills and parents just sitting in on that conversation, just to start seeing the signs and getting those. But Dodie, let's talk some more offline on what we can do. I know EKU has also reached out on doing some story time. And, you know, I've got my staff Sunday through Thursday. And I'm like, you know, Friday would be a great day. Friday and Saturday are great days to supplement when I don't have staff here.
Great.
Nancy, you had your hand up. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I really like the idea of having events, social events and opportunities. Dodie, I like that idea of different groups. Maybe we could break it up into high school, middle school, and elementary level. It would be really nice to have something that maybe their favorite house parent, their favorite teacher, something like that, that we could incorporate. I can remember back when I was in school, we had a group and we would always pick our favorite house parent or something to come and read stories to us, which drew us in a little bit more. And so it was, whether it was a social studies teacher who talked about the history of America or a story about that, I mean, we were just drawn in. And so I think that that would be really nice incentive. You have house parents at night who can do stories on various topics just to kind of keep them interested. And I really like that idea.
Any more questions or comments from anyone else? Toya?
I was
Continue.
just going to say, you know, keeping them connected is our goal. Let me expand on. And when we get to bring our kids back to campus, as I said earlier, the department has issued and state health have issued guidance for us to follow. My staff, those that are starting back next week, and those who have already been here will be going detail to detail on the guidance to make sure that it's being implemented as written. And working with the health department this summer on what does it look like in the dorms for our kids and how can we make sure that we keep them safe. The guidance from the health department is that we have one student per dorm room. And as you know, those of you who have seen our apartments, is there's a common area and then there's typically 3 bedrooms off of that common area, and there's 2 students per room. Our health department advised us to put 1 per bedroom, and then we would install like probably like a twin sheet on a curtain rod to kind of keep that exchange of air from room to room to keep that healthy. We would put our kids in, they ask us to, all schools, to consider putting our kids in groups and keeping them in groups. So we would have middle school stay just middle school. Like we were talking about, when the buses come on campus, our middle school kids would go in a different entrance, whereas our high school kids would come in a different entrance as well. We would work with transportation on how those kids sat on the bus, if we could keep them separated at all. I'm trying to think. So there's lots of details on that health plan. I'm happy to share all of that. If you go to Kentucky Department of Education's and just put in COVID-19, it takes you to all of the guidance that has been released. If you want to look at that, But we're working really closely. I mean, down to the details of like, we can't use the water fountains, but we can provide bottles and making sure that each kid has one of those water bottles and when time to fill that up. Yeah, so there's just lots of details. We've ordered masks for all staff and the kids. That is, it's a clear mask. We went in partnership with all the other deaf schools. American School, Jeff Braven took the lead on this and secured us a little bit of a savings. And we ordered, I think, 240 masks for kids and staff. We also have had donated hand mask. We have, these have also been part of the state issued mask. Then we all have our own personal masks. This one's mine with my elephant. And then we have disposable mask. Our nurses have that. We've looked at the face shields and looked at trying to get those ordered, and there's still a little bit of discussion about that. I know from a signing standpoint, if you have that mask on, you can still get to your face. With the shield, you don't necessarily have that. So we're kind of under a little bit of discussion for that and just kind of how that fits with the cochlear implant. We have prepared for like our speech classrooms and evaluation. We have prepared with plexiglass to kind of separate the kids. We've looked at the room sizes and some of our classrooms, because they either lack a window or they're very small and the number of students are larger, we'll be utilizing some different places on campus to create a classroom. While the weather is good, we will have our kids outside as much as possible. The guidance changed a little bit initially from no access to the playground to let's get the kids on the playground. And I'm already kind of thinking of, I don't care if I have to do a bottle of Clorox wipes after every kid gets on the playground, we're going to figure it out. Our kids have been without a playground for 2 years. So we got to get them back on that playground. We've got a beautiful playground and we need them to use it. So they've kind of changed the approach on that is to let's get them outside, let's get them playing and having fun. We've just got to keep the social distance. And I know they talk about some kids will not want to keep on their mask. I think we've been in a time frame now that kids are out in public, they're seeing the mask. And even the little ones, I was on a preschool call the other day, and it's not requiring masks for kindergarten or preschool. However, I think there'll be a little bit of peer pressure there of, oh, look, those older kids have got on masks. Let's try it for you. So, you know, they don't have to, but if they want to and we can keep it on them, I think that's great. Sports for the fall are going to have to be canceled. This is not, we're not the only ones. Other deaf schools, Lisa and I have met two and a half weeks ago. And we were discussing some upcoming tournaments that we had scheduled and some tournaments that were scheduled elsewhere. Texas School for the Deaf, I believe, have canceled their sports through October. And because of that window, you know, you're not going to bring somebody in for the last few weeks. So Lisa and I have just made the decision to cancel all fall sports, and then we will revisit that for a possibility in the spring. Any questions?
Yes, I noticed Nancy had her hand up.
In regards to athletics, is there going to be an opportunity for them to, with KSD only students, maybe if you have 10 or 12 girls or 10 or 12 boys, something to be able to divide them up and into group A and group B and let them play amongst themselves just to continue those skills and that upkeep for the event that we do return to school and we are able to have athletics again, that they've not just been sitting idle, that they have had an opportunity to practice.
Opportunity. I think that's a great point,
some-
Nancy. And I really hadn't thought about that. I mean, our kids play intramurals with other kids through the week. And I don't know what our county intramurals are going to look like moving forward. But you make a great point to utilize the time that we've got here with our kids. I think competition's a healthy thing, and they need to be having that with each other. So again, getting them outside. One of our goals, and you all, some of you all have heard me talk about it for a little bit, is we've been given a frisbee, a disc frisbee, disc golf. That's what it's called, DISK golf. And we need to go pick that up and try to get those put on campus. We're trying to do and get things for the kids. Last year, we invested in an outdoor chess set that's a life-size chess set for the kids to play. And then we also did Connect Four or something. I can't remember, but we bought some things that are larger to get the kids outside. In May, when I was mowing campus, it was a good opportunity for me because it got me out on every part of this campus and really appreciate the trees that are perfect little tents and hidden doll houses for our kids to go. Down on the creek, we have an active dam right now with a beaver. And there's just so many cool places on this campus outside. I mean, you can see it, but until you're driving over with a lawnmower, you don't really appreciate how beautiful this campus is. So I think it's an opportunity for us to refocus all of our staff, our teachers, and our dorm staff to get those kids outside. And let's explore and have adventures and get them engaged and know this campus from point to point.
If I may. If you want to move on to your reopening plan, that would be great. My question is, and I'd like to address some of the mental health issues and concerns, and that is a large issue for the deaf and hard of hearing population, to be isolated at home. And I'm glad to hear that you've addressed and wanted to support some of that. How can outreach staff and personnel be involved? I mean, we have them scattered throughout the state. Is there any way that they can help with that?
Actually, we've already had those discussions, Scott, and we're going to have some more. In our planning for opening, because we know even if we open, not every parent is going to be comfortable sending their kid to campus. So like other districts, we have to prepare what we call a hybrid model, how to teach those on virtual and how to teach those on campus. So, and we know that we have some kids that have challenges on staying focused, staying engaged, and how can we support them? And one of the suggestions is looking to maybe one day a week, have that outreach be there to support that kid. Now, there's a caveat to that because we have to think about the health and safety of the person going in and the person that is at the home. And what would that look like? And how do we social distance? You know, if some of our kids' homes are really tiny, and just like in some of our classrooms here, they're tiny. And how do we keep that social distance? So there's some logistics there but I don't think I think, you know, we can figure it out. So outreach and even some of our own staff here to support our kids and the parents who are supporting them. we've got to make sure we could be as customer service oriented for all involved. And I think our staff has the skill set to do that. So outreach, yes, we're looking at how to include them, but also outreach during spring, and again, have been actively reaching out to our teachers out in the field to support them with trainings and consultation as needed.
Oh, okay. One last question from me. And I'm wondering, how does NTI work? Now, I've worked with the elementary before, and I know it can be a challenge, for those students to stay on a device. High school students, I don't know what that's going to look like either, but how is it going to look across the board between all three schools?
What we're initially discussing now, and nothing has been fully finalized. We really had in our head, we're going back, I'll be honest. I mean, that's kind of where we were going. The elementary, we're looking at shortened time, like I talked about, shortened class time, touching on all content every day, but at a shortened window, and allowing that child to get off the visual and to do some independent work. Our preschool will not be online every day. But Tina is working on and been participating in some trainings across the summer on how to engage preschool. Our kindergartners, some of them really did engage online. So our elementary team is looking to shorten their classes. High school right now, and it's not been finalized, is looking at like on Monday, those first 3 hours, first period, second period, third period, that would be on Monday. And then on Tuesday would be 4, 5, and 6. And then on Friday will be team meetings. So that's what they're looking at right now. We will be touching base with all instructional leads next week for their finalized plans. What we communicated to parents is that all parents would have their students' schedule and next steps by August 17th. We do have some.
Are there any? Oh, Nancy, I saw Nancy's hand up there.
Yeah, I'm wondering, what some of the ideas were to be able to provide different educational opportunities for the students. And as I was listening, I was thinking about the masks. And I know that the high schoolers will, they'll respectfully oblige to wear the masks at times, but the elementary students, there may be a little more resistance. And so I wondered if it would be a good idea to have masks that are like animal print, or like an animal mouth, like a gorilla or a zebra or a cow or horse or whatnot. And then maybe the kids could say, I want to be a monkey this week. And then they could wear that identifying mask for the week with maybe, I don't know, a little hat or something. And then they could kind of learn about those things, and that kind of be a themed mask idea for that week. Just something to kind of incentivize them wearing those masks and, I don't know, get them kind of acclimated to it. Just a thought.
That's a fun idea. I know with some kids, I'm being able to draw on their mask and personalize it, but we've got them clear. We're trying to keep that open, but yeah, certainly they could probably do some fun things in making that. And Nancy, that's part of that first 2 weeks of building those expectations, of building the routines and procedures of how class is going to operate every day, whether it's virtually or whether they're on here. Our goal really was, and what we said last Wednesday is, let's at least get them here for 2 weeks if we have to send them home so that we could prepare. But unfortunately, that didn't come to fruition. So, but you make a great point. The little ones are going to struggle a little bit. I know as an adult, I struggle. I have my mask on and I'm always shifting it, trying to get some air. So it's a challenge.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
Any other questions? Nancy?
Yeah, I've interpreted on campus a few times, and I know that it's important to have that facial expression, and the masks inhibit that. I have been using the face shields as I've been out, that you kind of strap to your forehead, but it's really hard. Some people imagine it being hard to communicate with it, but I mean, I just act as though that shield is my face and use it in the exact same places that I would on my face. So it hasn't really been that big of an issue. And mother and father, instead of it directly touching my face, it just corresponds to the location on the mask like it would on my face. So it takes some getting used to wearing masks and shields and getting acclimated to it, but I definitely think it's doable.
Thank you for the feedback. That's really good to know because I've gotten mixed feedback on those shields, which kind of made me woe up. But thank you for that feedback. And really, honestly, my goal for staff was to have access to a mask that worked for them so that it's not a one size fits all. If you want a cloth mask, fine. If you want a clear one, if you want a shield, just so, because we all like something different. And so that's the goal, is to make it available. But you make me feel better about the shields. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Toya, if you don't mind to continue.
What's the next item on this?
Oh, Debbie, you have a comment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Nancy had just mentioned about the clear shields. I do like them. I did purchase one for myself, but I also have a mask that I wear that's clear. And it really helps me as an adult to be able to enjoy my deaf friends and their conversations, because after about 30 minutes or an hour, I'm exhausted and bored because I can't see the expressions on my friends' faces. I can't read their lips. And so if I, as an adult, feel that way, I can only imagine how our children will feel watching people all day with masks covering the greatest part of their face that portrays the communication. And so Scott Hahn and I got one from EKU. The girl who had come to KSD and had done her practicum and then made the masks. What a sweet girl. Anyway, she had made some at that time, and she didn't have any more elastic, so she was using the tie, which was a little more frustrating. But we had ordered other masks to go along with the elastic and clear shields. But we have to make sure that the plastic that's clear, that you're able to see through, doesn't fog up. So there's different ideas and approaches that you can take with that. But one day I was over at Scott Hahn's house, and we were wearing masks. We were inside, and 30 minutes went by, and I said, Scott, please, can we go outside? I can't take it. We'll just stand 6 feet from each other and talk like normal, because it was just cumbersome. And it was depressing after a while, just because ASL, so much of the grammatical features are on your face. And without that, it just was so mundane. And so I just think about our poor children, and they need something like those clear masks to have options. And so we'll have to try different things, but the shields are really nice. I'm not sure how safe they are without masks. I think you have to wear them underneath because your germs and whatnot are still able to get through, but there's definitely solutions we can come up with.
Toya?
The ones that we were looking at, Debbie, come down here, and then they have a collar with them. So we're going to continue to look at those and show those to the health department. Now, some health departments are saying no on the shields, and some health departments are saying yes. So we're going to refer to our local health department, and I can't say enough about his name's Brent. I can't say enough good stuff about him. I mean, he just says you all are so unique, and let's make it work for
Very
you
nice
all.
guy.
And so he is open to ideas. It's not a one way is his way. I mean, he truly wants. He knows we want our kids on campus. So as he said, it's a hard decision to say, let's go for the 6 weeks, but Toya, that's really where we need to be. So we will, I'm going to go back to that. You all have made me feel better about going back to the face shields and trying to pursue them again. Because some of the deaf that I reached out to on a national level were like, no. So what matters is for our kids here. So thank you.
All right, thank you. One last question, Toya. This is from Scott. Now I know you did mention the high schoolers. Now the elementary school, and they have a nice new dorm area, and all the beds in that room seem to be open. That was a thought that just popped in my head. How is the elementary dorm situation going to look this fall?
Thank you for reminding me of that. When I was talking, I meant to say that the elementary, in working with our dorm supervisors in talking, and I had shared this with our health department as well. He had suggested we could do some barriers to separate the room, but honestly, we still weren't comfortable with that. So we had talked about, we have the cafeteria area, it's almost like them living kind of camping. The cafeteria area to get the kids out and away from each other. Now, right now, our numbers in the elementary, I think are about three to four kids on each side. So they're small right now. So that would make it easier on us. But just the dorms, the way it's designed right now, we're not real happy with that. So we're going to continue to seek out a plan, which I appreciate Brent giving us an easier path. And but just to be consistent like we are with the other kids, we want to have the same approach.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for that. All right, Toya, it's still yours.
Okay, so some new hires since February. I'd like to share that, and I'll do them in order of hiring. We have Miss Emily Bailey, who is joined our dorm staff. We have Mr. Matthew Desarn, who has joined our operations team. I've not gotten to work closely with Emily, but I have worked closely. It was the Matthew Toya team in May and June, or June. Yeah, no, it's May. He and I and Ginger's husband and my husband were the mowing crew for May and June. And he loves our campus. He loves to be a part of making it look beautiful. So we're thrilled with that new hire. Carol Ann Morrison, who I introduced earlier. Also, we have Kim Huddleston, who is going to be our new finance officer, fiscal officer. She comes to us from North Point. She actually starts on Monday. And I have to say, when we interviewed 6 or something candidates, and every single one of them would have been phenomenal. And so for her to be at the top of phenomenal. So we are thrilled. She comes to us with expertise in procurement. which navigating state regulations and laws on being able to purchase, to have that expertise right here on campus will help us to be efficient and quickly respond to the needs, because she'll know procurement inside and out. So we're really excited. She's really excited. I've gotten to talk to her, and so we think she's going to be a great asset to our team. We also, with the retiring of Tommy, we interviewed for operations director, and again, another panel of exceptional applicants. Again, any of them would have been great on our campus, but this one stood out to us, and that's Mr. Rick Westerfield, who has served as our transportation director. He comes to us with experience from Boyle County. He is, I talked about in the interview of wanting someone who has those behaviors that is very focused on teamwork, initiative, positive, and quality. And Rick brought those to the table. So we're very excited. Just since he's come aboard, things, I thought they were moving really quickly this summer. They've even moved faster on getting things done. So we're very excited about him. And then lastly, of new hires, this is a new KDE hire with our DOS now serving both schools. Our new DOS for KSB and KSD is Miss Jane Painter. And Miss Jane Painter, I think, will serve us very well. Stu's applauding because he knows her. Jane will be coming to us from Boyle County. She has worked with KSD for many years and knows the process of kids, enrolling at KSD. She is someone who is highly organized, very detail-oriented, and a great expert in understanding special ed. And we want to make sure that, we are always in compliance, not only, but we're quality beyond compliance. And I've worked with Ms. Painter in this capacity and in my prior capacity at KDE and as a fellow DOS when I was at Casey County. So I'm excited about her joining our team. She starts August 16th. So that's it for my new hires. Miscellaneous, I just put that in there in case. Yes.
Yes. One quick question. I'm not sure on which one. I know 3 of your new hires were deaf. Is that correct? And then you had a couple that were hearing. One who took over student life. Maybe are they skilled with communicating with?
Well, we're still we're still on process. I cannot make any official announcement there, but hopefully I'll be able to make that soon, Scott. I cannot make I can't make an official announcement, but we're really close. Yes, Matthew is deaf, and that is something that I have shared with the board since I've been here, is to be open about our hires in trying to increase our number of deaf employees at the certified level and at both the 18A level. So I'll be honest, these most recent hires is the most not deaf pool of folks since I've started. But the expertise that they bring will still nonetheless be assets for our campus. But Matthew Desarn, I'm thrilled all day long.
I wanted to add too that during my time with Scott Hahn, while we were working at KSD still, we worked with Jane from Boyle County often and leading meetings and things like that. And she was very supportive of our deaf students that lived in Bull County and always been over backwards for them. And so I am so thrilled to hear that she's joining the KSD team, because she is a great partner and advocate for our students.
And you're very right, Debbie. We worked with her for many years ago, and running those ARC meetings, she has a lot of good skills.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites, so I'm glad to hear that.
All right, Toya.
I think the plus for us is she's able to hit the ground running and will not, a couple reasons. I think anytime somebody starts at the department, and like with Carol Ann, she already knows the inner working of that. And so will Jane, of our campus. While she'll have to learn the KDE side of it, Jane already understands our processes and how we operate as a campus. So she's halfway there. And she is one of the most detail-oriented people I have ever met. And so bring it on. We're ready for her. Okay, miscellaneous. If we can move into that. I added this just in case I forgot something for the agenda, to give me a little bit of leeway. And this is where I would like to talk about, oh, no, wait a minute. I'm missing one. I jumped over E. I'm sorry. Let me back up to capital projects. I missed one. Okay, so capital projects. We have, if you come on campus right now, you'll see lots of flags. There's little flags everywhere all over campus that has been here since May. And that is our boring projects to a couple things. We're identifying where everything is on campus. There's lots of pipes and different things that through the years get lost. If you remember a few years ago when we had a water main break, we couldn't find the turnoff. And it's just information as people leave campus, that institutional knowledge goes with them. So we had to go in and build a new stop on that pipe simply because that was lost. So the agencies had the foresight to be able to go through and identify where everything is, gas, water, electric, all of that. But it's also being done at the same time as we have our lighting project. We've talked about this. I know initially we were in discussion when I started, and right now the lighting project is in full swing of increasing the lighting on campus, but also it was very important for me that, and something that stood out to me when I started is, I call it no man's land between Kerr and over to Fosdick. You've just got this open parking lot, and God forbid we be in a bad weather situation or an intruder. We've got kids out walking across that area, and where do they go and what do they do and how do they be alerted? Right now we're just using big orange flags to try to get the kids' attention. So we're working to put an alert system out on buildings so that kids can see if there's something going on campus. So that's going on right now. We also are.
That's awesome.
If you are on campus right now, the pillars of Marshall did not hold paint. They they've painted them twice. And finally, they're just removed the pillars and they're putting new ones back up. We don't know why. But so anyway, just making sure that before we totally sign off and finish that project, that all things are done. There's a couple little details on the playground that they're going to come in or that will be fixed. Either we'll do it or they will, of having some pavers and access to the wheelchair swing so that the kids are not traveling over mulch. We just want to make that as easy, accessible as possible. The roofs and HVAC discussions have started. With COVID, everything has closed down. This boring project was actually supposed to start in May, and a lot of these contractors have lost their workers. They're not coming into work. So the process is just really slowed down, but we do have that cost analysis is going on right now with our roofs and HVAC. Same thing with the boiler at Jacobs Hall. And those are our main big pieces that we've got going on with regards to capital projects. And just a note, capital projects are anything over $20,000. So those are our large pieces. And it's important to know a lot of, and I know Jeff, you had asked, had said something about our capital projects. A lot since I've been here, and just prior to me coming, a lot of the improvements are what you can't see. It's underground or it's behind the walls. It's been some of that infrastructure to our buildings to keep them going with boilers, abatement of asbestos. So there's different things that while the outside, I know we still have the last phase of Argo. If you see the back of the building, the front of the building looks really good and it's been addressed. The back of the building still needs to be completed. So unfortunately, some of this stuff is slow, but we're working on it. So that's my segue into since June 1, we have been doing what we call our KSD beautification project. Drive through campus. If you're in town, please drive through campus. We have got paint, groundskeeping, painting inside Kerr. Right now, we have started to paint the outside of Kerr. We have painted, we didn't do it. The staff has done it. I have not picked up one paintbrush. It's been all the staff. They have painted doors. The outside of Thomas is a darker green. It matches our new gym floor and our bleachers. We're doing the same thing for Kerr. It's getting that new dark green and a chocolate brown. We're trying to connect all the buildings so they look like there's continuity there. We've got some more projects identified. Our ATA staff will be back on Monday. We've got lots more projects. And while NTI is awful, this is an opportunity for us to utilize all of our staff to do some housekeeping or honeydew things that we don't normally have time. We had time in June to do all this because our kids weren't here for summer school. So we've really tried to capitalize and use every minute that we've got. Our next thing is I will refer to our director of the charitable foundation and let him know that we want to paint the fence at Jacobs Hall. And we've painted the fence across the road, and we would like to go in and use that time to beautify where all we can. Paint, we don't have, our budget this year is not where it usually is because nobody's budget is. But we know paint is not expensive, and where we can do it, we will. We had staff paint fire hydrants and railings. So please, if you're in town, please drive through campus and see. I'm so proud of what everybody's done. And that's it on my report, and any other questions that you have.
Jeff, you had your hand up?
Yes, hello. I've been doing a little bit of research on my own about KSD and about the capital projects that have been started. And I was heavily involved years back in 2008 with the facilities and planning. And I recall at that time, there were several things that we were in discussion with at the department level. After that, I wasn't really sure about all the follow through that happened with things. But now that I'm on the advisory board committee, I wanted to follow up with some of those projects that we had discussed. And I went to KSD yesterday, actually. I asked Scott Hahn if I could get a little bit more information about the surplus property that had just recently been sold. And I was able to see some of the flags that you mentioned that were on campus. And so I took a look around at some of the improvements, and just so that I could get a better idea of KSD and the property. Scott Hahn had shared with me some details and information. So thank you, Scott Hahn, for sharing with me all that information to help me gain a better picture of what KSD is and where it stands currently. One of my biggest questions that I have right now is, what is the actual estimate of improvements for projects, the capital projects? Do you have an estimate, like an exact amount?
I wish I had looked that number up, Jeff, before we had this meeting today. T has that. I do know that they asked the legislature this year for an increase. And as soon as I give you an amount, I'm going to be wrong. So I'm not going to give you an amount, but I'll get that information for you. But the amount was arrived at to cover the projects that we need for right now. We develop a 6-year plan the 6-year plan is broken out into a biennium. And those 3 bienniums, there's certain projects identified in each of those. So what we can do at our next meeting or prior to or whatever is, and really I think it needs, this is a training portion. And when we were identifying what training needed, because I want to make sure that you all have full access to that information and how those decisions are made and where that funding source comes from. So hopefully, Jeff, if on our training, we will get to that information to you. But if you'll indulge me, and you spurred me on something that I forgot to share on the beautification project, with the sale of Walker Hall, in the acreage, it wasn't just, Walker Hall down in the corner. It's the land down on the other end on the corner, across from Edward Jones, is property that was included in the sale. Now, on the property was some antique fence. And yes, where the old hospital was too. Yeah.
Can I make a clarification statement real quick? Edward Jones, that is the former engineer's house, as it's been known on campus before, and that might be how Jeff knows it. And in the boiler room, they were side by side there. And the laundry, the boiler room, and Rogers Hall, all those buildings where they were. Sorry, just to clarify real quick.
Oh, that's good. So on that was some antique post fence, in trying to preserve the history, not knowing, what's going to be done, what the new owners will do with that property or who those new owners were going to be. I just sought out permission to get that fence removed off of that property. So we have removed that fence, probably to take and put around the boundary of Jacobs Hall. Scott, T, and I had talked about using some of that fence to outline that property, so that, again, it's keeping the historical integrity, but it's not lost and it goes into somebody else's possession. The second thing is, I have a friend who's a stonemason that volunteered his time. I had him come look at the stone fence that is across from the engineer's house, and the feasibility of taking it down. And there's a small pot of money that I believe we're going to be able to use in the future to build a stone entrance coming in off of 2nd Street there at Argo. I know in getting to go to some of the other deaf schools across the nation, they have these big elaborate stone entrances. And me personally, I just love rock walls. I'm goofy about them. I just appreciate them. I appreciate the people who built them and how long they've been there. The gentleman, the rock mason, said that fence was probably around 1880. I'm sure Rhonda or Scott could probably find an exact date. So the rock, and Jeff, you might have seen it when you came on campus. We have got a pile of rock up in the front of the Grow parking lot. It's covered up because we don't want anybody to see it and run off with it. But we're looking to use that stone to build 2 7-foot columns. And then we have some old wrought iron fence. And I want to reach out to Campbellsville University and their welding department to go in with us to create 2 gates that would have electric to them. They would not be manual, they would be electric, so that it's efficient to let people in and out. And then as that would be joining the side, and we'll get a drawing, a rendering of what that would look like, hopefully by our next meeting. But to use, there'll be a walkway as part of that Argo. There'll be a walkway right hugging up against the side of that building. So we would have a wrought iron gate for students to walk through, as well as the electric gate for the cars to go through. So our goal is to have that in time for the 200th celebration to celebrate campus. It's just, I was adamant and passionate about that we did not lose this stonework. And I know some might say, well, you took down a historical fence, but well, that historical fence is now coming back to KSD to be used.
I noticed Nancy had her hand up. Nancy?
Yeah, I was just wondering about that 2nd Street entrance where Jacobs Hall Museum sits on the other side of the street. There is that concrete, like sidewalk, that rock sidewalk. And then on the other side of the street, kind of in front of Grow Hall, it's brick from basically the corner all the way down to Brady Hall. It's kind of brick laid, and it's hard for people who are in wheelchairs to have accessibility on that because it's so bumpy. I'm wondering if some of those stones can be maybe laid out and put out in the back of Jacobs Hall to create like a walkway of maybe back in the 1800s of what it looked like, because it wasn't concrete back then. Also, I'm wondering if when you're walking across the street after you walk out the front of Jacobs Hall and you walk over to Grow Hall, that sidewalk right there, leaving that concrete, that sidewalk, but then maybe taking some of those old bricks and recreating that on the sides maybe, or on the edge of the sidewalk that's already there, to kind of just incorporate that from the front side and maybe make it more historical or part of history. Just an idea.
Right now we have pulled enough stone. Right now we have pulled enough stone to build those 2 columns. We'll have to look and see, Nancy, if we have enough window left to go get some more stone. Right now, the property, I think there's 60 days, I believe. There are 60 days from when they sign that, kind of like a pending, when you see on a realtor sign pending. I think they have 60 days to finish their closing. Let me just on the sale of Walker Hall, the department worked with the foundation to also secure an additional piece of land directly behind Jacobs Hall. And I think Scott has got the plat of what all that looks like. It was important to for
Yes,
the
here.
view not to be obstructed of Jacobs.
And I can send a copy out of this as well, Toya.
Yeah, for that view not to be obstructed. Why was this sold very quickly? Let me just give you a quick piece of background, and this is my understanding. This is state property, and therefore the state can decide what to do with state property, just like any park or state-run building across the Commonwealth. All state properties, monies, go back into the general fund because it belongs to the state. However, in the past, the legislature has allowed the state schools to anything that's sold in the form of surplus to get those monies, and it goes back to campus. However, it is my understanding that as of June 30, that has run out. So there was a quick push to get this completed before June 30 so that the monies would indeed go back to KSD. So the department stepped in on that and worked with the buyer. Now, I think there was some concern, well, why was it not sold to the hospital or something like that? The way the rules, the way that I understand it, is in the sale of surplus property, be it an old desk or an office chair that nobody wants anymore, or actual land. Another state agency or governmental agency has first rights to acquire that land or that property. So somebody made the comment that the hospital might have paid more money for the land, but the way the laws are written, that state or local governmental agency has the right, first rights to acquire it. In that case, Danville wanted that land. All surplus property, current and future, a lot has to go in place before it can be sold. It's my understanding, I think the Walker Hall decision on surplus was made well before I started. And any future surplus discussion will be vetted over, it's a long period of time. I have been told that there are no immediate plans for any surplus properties at this time, that there's no immediate plans for anything on campus. Now it is concerning. We do have some vacant buildings. Those vacant buildings cost us money. Yes.
I do have a question. A concern of mine popped up when you mentioned that after June 30th date. Is that every year prior, the legislator had to make sure that they included an announcement or in the language of the sale of surplus property that it would come back to KSD. And I just wanted to make sure that the Kentucky Board of Education, the Kentucky Department of Education, and the governor, that language was in there for the legislation to read and make sure that it benefited KSD and KSB too. And I just wanted to make sure that it was there and that it was fair. how can we make sure and get that reminder sent out to the legislator to ensure that those funds of the sale will return to KSD? How are we insured of anything like that, Toya?
The funds of this sale of Walker Hall will go, is my understanding, goes to us, goes to the campus for the benefit of the campus. I don't know, and Carol Ann, I'll look to her.
But what about
Future,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but I say that I don't know if the sunset, that June 30, that ending, it's because we're in between a session and there was nothing to do to get that done. And the sale of this, if that sale didn't happen right then, if we don't have anything selling right now, that June 30 can come and go and it doesn't bother us. It just so happens right now with the sale of Walker Hall in June 30th, they collided and a decision had to be made quickly to get that done before June 30. So moving forward, I don't know if it's over or if that's, like you said, Scott, it's a yearly thing. But I'm sure that our department, KDE, will continue to fight for those funds to come back. But right now, it's dead in the water. And it just might. Carol Ann, do you know anything on?
I don't know, but I will look into that and get an answer for the future.
Thank you.
Okay, I noticed Jeff had his hand up. Okay, thank you, Scott. And one of my concerns, I know over the years too, with the legislature, and as the deadlines come down, and new legislature gets put in and it happens annually. I just wanted to make sure that when this property is sold and it is given away to that new owner, that money does come back. It does come back under a state agency. I mean, historically, I know the amount of money that we have, and becoming at the new fiscal year, the Senate determines what will happen, with that money as it comes around for the new budget process. And I know you said it does go back into the general fund, and hopefully it is earmarked for KSD. Also, I do agree that campus is looking really nice. The updates that are being done there have really improved. Other universities that I've seen, like Center College, and through my, travels and driving around, I've noticed a lot of places, and KSD needs to be more modernized to keep up with the times. So that way parents, families, community, when they come onto campus and they see it looking good and not in a state of degrade as it might have been in the past. You want it to feel warm, to feel inviting, to feel like home. And so that's kind of one of my goals for campus too, is campus beautification and improvements.
Same.
Toya or Carol Ann, this is Scott Hahn. For the advisory board, I would like to request that KDE include in the language that any legislation bill related to the sale of current property or future properties have that money go back to KSD. Is that something that we can have happen? It's just an opinion of mine as the chair of this board, but I think that it would be good.
I want to clarify the sale from Walker Hall, I am being told, comes to us because that was completed before June 30. So we're good on that. It's just building for the future. If we have to go down that route, we want to make sure we're advocating that the monies come back to us.
Okay. Nancy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, as time draws near for the 200th celebration, and we start to make improvements on campus to beautify it, as we start to invite guests from all over the country to participate, the time and the money that will be required to go into that, do we have a plan of how much will be required to do the things that we would like? And if so, are we able to ask maybe former KSD graduates? I'm one of them. I'm a volunteer, Rhonda Bodner, as a current employee, people who can volunteer maybe to help contribute towards Jacobs Hall Museum, making that look upgraded and make it look nice and presentable. I know that there are volunteers already who come and who have come to help repair Jacobs Hall. I'm here for this weekend, to help with that project specifically. And so I just want to make sure that we are reaching out to former graduates and alumni to get help quicker in beautifying campus and preparing things, whether it be the walkway, the bricks, making sure that that is manicured and that it looks presentable. I know that it's going to be all hands on deck, but I just want to make sure we have a plan.
Toya?
You reminded me, thank you, Nancy. The trees, when you said the walkways, one of the 3 trees behind Jacobs Hall, where the pavement is breaking,
Yeah.
those are going to be cut down, and those will be repaired because it's a tripping hazard. And then also the sidewalks on campus are a project. Moving forward on sidewalks, we are really trying to widen the sidewalks on campus to make them more deaf friendly so that you can have conversations and not trip over each other. We have this summer gone through and edged all of our sidewalks across campus, and you wouldn't believe how the grass just creeps out over, making those sidewalks smaller. So one of my days at lunch, I went out and bought us a new edger and we've just been busy edging campus. So whoever's available grabs the edger and they go out and edge for the day. So it takes a while and it's hard, but that's something we're working on. So, and then also in the future, the sidewalks and accessibility out in front of campus, that's going to be on the docket to address too, because those bricks most likely are going to go and have to put in new, just because they're not as I hate much to see them go. It's really a safety thing.
Are they able to be removed and installed behind Jacobs Hall and to make into some sort of patio or something?
We need to save them. That's history.
Exactly, save them so that back side where the stairwell is behind Jacobs Hall, that area below there, maybe we could put them there. And I mean, it belongs to Jacobs Hall. It's a part of its history. So.
Okay, any more questions, comments? All right, seeing none. Toya, do you have anything else that you needed to add? We good there? Wonderful. All right, moving on to section G, goals, objectives, and recommendations of the advisory board. First, trainings need to be established. In the instance, it would be nice for any board member who would come to visit campus for a tour, to meet some of the staff, or to meet with KDE chairs. That would be really nice. But unfortunately, during the pandemic right now, we've had a lot of roadblocks come up. I've been in talks with Toya and about virtual trainings, and maybe we can offer something next time, but hopefully we will have the opportunity to come together and follow the CDC's recommendations for face coverings and social distance, and we can meet together. Maybe meet in the gymnasium or wherever anyone else would feel comfortable to have a training on campus, or online or physical. It doesn't matter to me. I want to bring that up to the board and give me your recommendations. What do you think? A training on campus or one online?
How many people are we talking about for these trainings that would be coming?
Well, we have 8 members. One of will be dependent upon approval, and that is the parent seat. We're waiting on a KDE person and a couple other people to come to campus. So there could be KSD staff as well. I mean, we're talking, maybe less than 10. If we go over 10, Toya, do you have any insight?
It would be our advisory board members and those training. None of my staff would need to attend. It would be strictly designed for you and to meet your needs. So it probably, even to keep the size down, we would have the trainers not come in all at, when it's time for them to present, they would be there. So that we can keep social distance, but that you all are in an environment to where you're comfortable asking questions, and that that trainer has a little bit more flexibility than just being on Zoom and getting that training solely that way. But again, we've got to watch our COVID numbers. But the gym, Scott, is a great place to be able to spread out and everybody have room and distance and open those doors and get airflow going.
Jeff? I know it's really hard to predict with COVID. None of us really know what's to come, so it's hard to plan. However, we're all waiting at our edge of our seats about what the governor is going to announce next and that the CDC is going to come out with. But the gym does seem like a good idea to be able to social distance appropriately. So I'm open to that idea. Nancy? And is there 20 or 30 people that we could have? I mean, I don't know what the maximum occupancy would be in there. If we were having other people, we could have signups, and then for the remainder who weren't able to make it, we could just do a Zoom, a live stream kind of thing. Toya?
What I was thinking is on this training, if we could videotape that training so that new members in the future, we have that, we can pull that, and then they can watch that. But we're in a unique situation right now where all of our members are pretty much still in that new phase. So it kind of works together to be able to have everybody collectively. But but really training wise, what we had identified before was 3 trainers. But now we might bring on some additional ones. Really, it was focused on budget, capital projects, and funding sources. And then just your roles and responsibilities as an advisory board chair from our department attorney. There's, as part of site-based, there's a lot of training on understanding food services, understanding our requirements of instruction. We can break some of those trainings down. We just say that training needs to be started or completed within, what did we say, a time limit on the bylaws? I'm sorry. Was it 1 month?
No, I don't think we said.
Okay.
Oh, 30 days.
Okay, 30 days. All right. So, I mean, that's something I can work with Carol Ann to identify what other pieces that you all need. But the more that you all know about our funding streams, how procurement works. It's kind of like Nancy's talking about sidewalks. Well, we can't go out and do, and I'm not saying you said this, Nancy, but we can't go out and do sidewalks tomorrow. It's a long process, but understanding what the process is and why it is to help you all understand, not to be so frustrated on why aren't things happening overnight. So the more that, we can kind of explain that, the better insights that you all can have on how to advise us as a school.
And also having a tour of campus, I think, is important to include that for all of our members to be able to see what we're referencing during our discussion. Jeff? I was just thinking in regards to the trainings and videoing the trainings. What I've done in the past with some of my previous work through presentations that I've given, I was thinking that there are probably trainings that would explain rules, bylaws, something simplified that we could look at and model ourselves after. But any other trainings, like a virtual tour of campus or other specific to KSD things that we address or that we face, maybe those trainings could be like Robert's Rules of Order, for example. Those are kind of trainings that I think that those Adobe presentations would be really nice for. And then we could share those with everyone with a link that already has the interpreted piece to it. And so all we would have to do is, click on each part of those videos of those trainings and watch them in ASL. And then when they were completed, have something that just says, we've certified that you've completed all the necessary trainings and whatnot. That's what I had done with my work in the past. Nancy? I'm sorry, is Joe trying to talk to us? Joe? Okay, I guess not. Any questions? Comments, Nancy? No, I like that idea. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. Okay, Debbie, your thoughts? Well, it's based on the numbers, I guess. It's really not safe to have large groups of people at this time, but it would be nice to be together, to be trained, ideally, but do you think that we should schedule it for August? Is that what we're thinking? Or are we thinking more September?
Oh, September, yes. Toya, September, does that work?
That's fine. I'll seek out some dates, but again, it's all contingent on kind of where we are with our numbers and guidance from the department on moving forward. I'm like you, Debbie. It would be nice to be together, even if we are far apart, to have this training. And the more that when you all
the gym is so hot. I mean, imagine August is back in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, hey, by the way,
You got those big fans in there. I don't know what it feels like. Joe, what's it look like over there? What are you dressed? Are you dressed for winter over there? It's cold, it looks like. Where are you? Yeah, I'm not used to the ACs, so I've bundled up. Oh, you got some good AC wherever you are.
Yeah, and I'm not used to it. I'm just not used to the AC.
Okay, in Marshall, got it.
All right, so Scott's saying, well, we'll go ahead and have a training maybe 30 days from now. I'll make sure to include everyone on the email, when, where, time. I'm happy to participate anywhere. All right, moving on. The other thing I would like to point out, I would like to have T come to our next meeting, Mr. Hewlett. if you don't mind, and to talk about those capital projects and the list of surplus properties. For example, some people have contacted me about old Lee or Nancy Lee Hall. Is it going to be surplus or not? I've received many questions about that. And so if we don't mind to have Mr. Hewlett or someone come and explain a little bit more and have a little bit more information for us and for public knowledge about the condition and the buildings on KSD's property. Toya?
T cannot be with us today, so otherwise he would have been here. But I have been assured by the department that there is no other discussion at this time for any surplus. That includes Lee Hall. So, but I think having T or someone from the department come and kind of get down in the weeds on that, absolutely.
Nancy? Yeah, speaking of Nancy Lee Hall, I remember Mr. T mentioning something a couple years ago about the hopes of setting like an amphitheater or an indoor theater of some type for that building. I'm wondering if that's something that's still a goal for that building or where that's gone. So it'd be nice to get an update from him. Yeah, actually, that was brought up in 2014, 2015 at the town hall meeting that we had. I remember vaguely that was brought up about what we could do with Lee Hall and how to get, maybe, I think 2014 is when he was talking about that. I remember that. Toya?
So the amphitheater, they're looking at that as part of the 6-year plan, but it would not be attached to Lee Hall. They're looking to run that amphitheater off the back of the elementary of Marshall. So that is,
Oh,
again, that deaf-friendly, there is discussion of expanding those elementary dorms and doing the amphitheater off of that. Again, that's not in stone that it's going to get done, Nancy, but that is some of the initial discussion to utilize the back of Marshall Hall.
Okay, Jeff?
a quick question that I've been kind of mulling over just now. The capital projects, I'm sure that everything is pre-planned from back a couple years ago and that are moving forward, but that doesn't include Nancy Lee Hall and an auditorium. And I was just thinking to myself, is it allowed that KSD, depending on how much money we have, I know, to put forward for an auditorium, but would we be allowed to have the community involved in donating or sponsoring and helping raise money, like a GoMe fund or anything like that? Are we allowed to do that type of fundraising?
Robin Kenny would be the best to comment on that because there's two things that has to do with the capital project and that also has to do with money coming into campus. So let's wait and let Carol Ann take that question to Robin for her to answer because she'll answer that better than I. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that discussion of, yeah, because I want to go, yeah, we're always open to money. So, but we just want to make sure that we follow the rules and don't go down a path that's not a viable one.
Yeah, it's just something that popped into my head. You know, I thought that, well, it might help if we had access to those donations. You know, there's some people in Danville that do have a big heart and people that are out of state as well that would be willing to donate some funds. And I know that that would be very helpful for KSD, almost like a, you know, a matching fund in a way, from the state and then local donations. I just wanted to ask questions and make sure that the state would be on board with it. And I didn't want to cause any other, you know, problems. A while back, the KSD Charitable Foundation was in partnerships with Kentucky Department of Education to raise money for the pool. And they were able to get about $48,000 in donations. And so, for example, this was a while ago. And during that time, you know, it worked out well and it was a good idea. And so I would almost like to invite the new Commissioner of Education.
Ian Glass.
Dr. Glasser, to come down and meet with everyone and take a tour of our campus and our facilities, even some from the legislature too. Now, I know that we would have their support, and I would like to,
And the governor.
and the governor, yeah, that'd be good to have the governor as well. But I want them to understand our school, our history, our traditions, our pride, and our unique opportunities that we have here. For them to become familiar with campus, become familiar with our surroundings. You know, to have the governor come in and take a look at Jacobs Hall, for example. I'm sure that I'm sure that there's future ideas to sell some more property from KSD. But it would be a good idea before any of that happens to invite the commissioner, the legislators, and KVE director, the Board of Education director, to come in and impress them and get their interest here on campus. I would like to invite them.
The board members.
And the board members to have them to get to know us and who we are and see the students. And it would be my hope that we could plan, you know, something like that. Toya?
Yeah, our legislators, they're right.
Lawyers?
They are our funding stream and they need to see our campus. Caroline and I talked the other day about how to get them on campus. Right now we're serving, I think, approximately 32 districts. And, you know, that's a lot of territory across the Commonwealth. When you added both KSB and KSD together, every district was being served across this state, but maybe two. And for both of our state schools, it is critical that our legislators understand where the money is going and the value of it. Our kids, our staff, our families, we all want our kids here. And we want it to be around for a very long time because it is essential. I got to tell you this real quick. Our new commissioner, I'm really excited. When I was out on my CEASD trip, last spring or when I went to my meeting, I got to tour Rocky Mountain School for the Deaf. And when I went to just looking at different school plans, theirs was one of them that I went to because I really liked that school. And that's our new commissioner's school. That's in Jeffco district. So I'm very excited. So he has been a superintendent of a deaf school. So I think that's very exciting for our new commissioner when he comes here. He's going to have some background knowledge of working with a deaf campus.
Well, that's good to know. Jeff, you had your hand up?
One last thing that I've thought of is I remember a few months ago, we had discussed about these senators
and us being moved under Danville Independent Schools. And remember, we were all abuzz about that. And I was involved indirectly. I have several different hats that I wear, as we all do, but I was working with them, and I really want to thank 3 senators in particular for letting us know ahead of time before that bill was passed and then finally dropped, to put us under Danville schools. But at that time, it really made me pause and think about the improvement that needs to be made in communicating with those senators. It's very, very important that they are aware of our needs and desires. I personally made phone calls to them to express our concerns in Casey County, Bardstown, and Danville, to make sure that we were all on the same page about what we were wanting. And so those lines of communication need to be open, because they're making decisions that they think are in the best interest, but unless they hear otherwise from us, they don't know. And so, with our state senators, it's important that we're communicating with them, because they are trying to make big decisions. And I think that we need to try to have a better relationship with them, an open relationship, and inviting them to campus, and for them to be able to see for themselves some of the decisions and what that will mean for us. And Toya, you mentioned, other important entities who are making their different stakeholders for KSD that are heavily involved with the decisions that are being laid out, but inviting them to our campus to be able to see and feel what our campus is about and make better decisions about the school and the students as a whole, instead of being in their home office and not seeing the whole picture of KSD and deciding based on what they know, which was a very bad move before. So I'm glad that we were able to work that out. But I think it's very important that we have someone with PR skills, someone that can work a point of contact with those senators, who can build that relationship, so that in the future, we have a better understanding and we've laid more groundwork for what's to come. And I just think that we have great senators who are trying their best and they're trying to make improvements, and we can always look back and move forward differently and learn on those things. But
All right, so we touched on the training, and we touched on inviting those key leaders to come to campus.
Mhm.
The board of education, the governor, legislators, senators, and all those people to come down. I'd like to consider adding some resources for our senior class. Those seniors that have graduated this last May, it would be nice to gift them with an acclamation, maybe from any retired KSD staff, just something, something that they could have, a resource for them. I don't know who's retired from KSD that would be willing to provide something like that for them. What do you all think?
yeah, I think that'd be nice.
So of those 3 that we've discussed, is there anything else that you all would like to add? Do we accept those 3 things that we've just gone over? Okay, good. Now, it's my understanding, Toya, and the members, those who have retired from the board, they're
Susan Dorn's talking about Susan Dorn.
the parent seat and her son, where he's recently graduated. We don't have an official letter of resignation for that open seat. Who do we need to have to fill that? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And then what about the, Debbie, did you?
Yeah, whatever happened to Alice Godfrey? She said that she was interested in becoming a parent representative, but she's not here today. So did the paperwork not get completed, or?
Right, Debbie. The vacant recommendation, the person that we did recommend, we did have 9 positions.
1 vacancy.
and one vacancy, and that was a parent of a child seat. Do we need to make another selection? Select
Is there-
another person?
Is there an update on that?
Or do you have any update there, Toya?
I'm not sure about Ms. Godby's application getting to the department. And that might be something that fell through the cracks between Kevin Stahl leaving to become superintendent. I'm not sure. I'll look to Carol Ann to see if she knows the status of those applications. I just want to clarify, Scott, was was the parent that emailed us the other day, did she say she was resigning, or was she simply asking the question, did she need to resign?
I guess that's the question I was wanting to ask.
I am happy to follow back up with Susan Dorn and to see if she's willing to stay on as an advisory member. Right now, as it states, it's like you and I talked the other day, Scott, it's the parent of a deaf child. I think I know some people have asked in the past, does it need to be a current student, not a current student? And I don't think there's any, I don't think that's defined.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying, Toya. I appreciate it. There's 3 things that we can discuss at the next meeting. One of those will be trainings. The other one being inviting those key stakeholders from Frankfurt. And the third, resources, and then the retired board members
To give to the seniors.
as a gift to give to the seniors. Now we're in the comments for public comments. We're in that section. Looking over here. All right, we have one person with a whole list of questions and comments. Need to check how to access that real quick. I've not seen any others from other public comments. I'm only seeing them from one person. But following the bylaws, it states that we can follow up with questions and answers will be written. I think that we've already addressed talking about the surplus property and concerns and comments. This is from Paula Mekis. The extra money and the sale of Walker Hall adjacent to the hospital
Were we selling this as a minimum price, I guess is the question. Toya, I think that this is something that we would have to follow up in writing. Let me skip to the next question. In regards to the pandemic and the issues that we face, it says most school districts are planning different
events to come back to school. We know that things change quickly, and keeping the staff included and in the loop are important. I feel like we've already addressed that at the beginning of this meeting when you addressed the plan for reopening school. Speaker view. Thank you. Also, it's asking about KSD's superintendent for the past 20 years and the role that KDE plays with the Commissioner of Education in place. Just clarifying what his role will be. There's lots of questions listed here, and so I would recommend that Toya, if you could follow up in writing in these answers. Is that possible to do? Okay, because I just want to make sure that we all have access to these questions and these comments. So if we can just follow up afterwards in writing and then share that with the board. I wish that we could figure out a way to advertise better to everyone how to include their questions and public comments appropriately. We need to kind of work on that, communicating that better on how to add their comments and questions for the next meeting if, in case we're meeting this way. Yeah, Jeff's saying it would be nice to put it on Vimeo or something like that, instructions in ASL. That way, if they have a problem writing it in English, they can sign it, and then that's not an added barrier to public comments that they may want to ask. So maybe in our next meeting, we can kind of clarify that.
And that's a good idea. Thank you, Jeff. So I hope that these questions can be addressed and shared and discussed at the next meeting.
When is the next meeting?
Yes, and that was next on the agenda is when we shall hold the meeting again. August? Toya, do you have any advice for us?
Rules state August. So if you all want to share some possible dates, preferably not the 24th, because that's our opening day for NTI. 2 questions. Do you all want to keep, I know we had an afternoon meeting. Do you all want to still continue with our meetings in the evening? Do you want to move any to the afternoon? And then if you all identify a date, and I can look at my calendar as well.
I'm going to defer to the board, Nancy.
I think there's only one day that I can't do in August. Other than that, I'm open to whatever the board decides.
Okay, Jeff, what are you thinking?
I'm available. Afternoons on work for me, so whatever is best for the board.
Debbie?
Afternoons or evenings is fine as well. She said after the 24th, right? So maybe the week after that. I mean, I know that it gets busy that first week of school. I remember well. Oh, Bridget.
Miss Mann? Do you have a preference? Bridget?
Calendar.
Say that again.
I'm looking at my calendar. For me, to be honest, if you all could give me an idea of specific dates, then I could narrow down from there because of either afternoons or evenings. I'll just need to work with what you all think might work best with you. Because much like you at KSD and everyone else, there is things going on.
All right, thank you, Bridget. Toya?
Since Dodie had to leave early and Josh is not on the call today, would the committee be okay if we reached out to everyone to identify some possible dates? We'll send that out in
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of the right word. We'll post some dates and to identify the best ones, and we'll try to get that done by Wednesday. Let me see what Wednesday is so I can
Okay.
write the date down.
Yeah, that works.
By the 5th, by August 5th. Oh, daggone it. Are you all still there?
No.
Sorry, I thought I lost you. Sorry, technology problem. So we'll get with everybody by the 5th to identify a date. How's that?
Okay, yep. I would like to make sure that that would be posted about our next meeting, and as well as the meeting minutes, the amendments to the bylaws and the revisions there. And also, I would like to share information about a map of the property, about Walker Hall, Jacobs Hall, that whole block over there. I want to share that with everyone so that way they know. Now I have an old copy. It's probably from the, well, let's see, 2004, 2008, somewhere in there. It was a facility plan committee information. They shared it with me, and that's where I got that map. And so it was in some of the museum files, but luckily I was able to find that map. And so I was able to go through those pages and find what it looked like. So I wanted to share that with everyone so that way they could see and become familiar with the sale of the property.
What does the chat say?
Does anyone else have anything else that they need to add? Any comments?
Nope, that's it. Thank you for letting us use technology and Zoom. It was outstanding.
Okay, Toya?
I want to clarify, Scott, when you said you wanted to post, do you want to post our final bylaws, final draft with all the corrections? Or do you want that, copy with those that's kind of got the edits on it? Do we want to go ahead and post just a final clean copy?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, a clean copy.
All right, just
One that's
okay.
been revised and is clean. Yep. So that way people can see if they are interested. We can share that with everyone. Any more comment? Oh, Toya, yes?
Just clarifying again. By August 5th, we are gonna have identified a date. Now, I don't know if by next Wednesday we're going to be able to have the minutes ready and in air posted as we had talked about in the past. We had talked about giving us about a 2-week turnaround on that, if that's okay. Now, however, August date's coming up pretty quick, so we will do our darndest to get that out in a week if we can. But with Billy's schedule and everything, we just need a little bit of latitude to get that in the air. We'll get the new minutes. And do you all want the bylaws in the air as well?
Board, what do you all think? Jeff's saying it depends. I don't think it might be needed. Scott's saying there are a lot of bylaws there. Jeff said a nice clean copy to pass out to everyone or have available for everyone will be enough. And Scott agreed. Okay, any more? Scott's asking, any more announcements? Oh, Debbie, yes.
Maybe we should try, I didn't think of this before, but maybe we should try to have our next meeting in the evening instead of in the afternoon, just to be able to accommodate some of us who are wanting to participate, who may be teaching our grandchildren through NTI. So maybe once school starts back, we might not be as free in the afternoon as we are now. So we may need to look at the evening time for a future meeting.
Yes, Debbie. Any more? I'm asking the board. This is Scott. I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Nancy?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded by
I second that.
Debbie. Debbie seconded. All right. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye by raising your hand. All right, there's Bridget. Great. All right, it passes. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy. Hope you all have a great time. Thank you, Toya. Thank you to the interpreters. Thank you for the tech guys, everyone behind the scenes. You all were the ones that made this happen. Thank you so much. It has been
Thanks
a
all.
team effort.
Thanks, Regina.